When I know the base plate is in exactly the right spot, at the exact right angle, and exactly flush with the front deck, then I'll remove my temporary bracket holding the base plate in place and use 3 or 4 8mm bolts for the permanent attachment. Well, I have now temporarily screwed my painted and spiffy looking F7 pine base plate to the deck. But have I got it in the right spot? Before I finally screw it permanently to the foredeck, there's one crucial measurement that has to be just right, and it's this one here. This, you can see, is my dummy motor shaft, and the distance between the shaft and the gunnel rubber has to be between 25 and 37 millimeters. But will the distance between my wooden base plate and the shaft be okay? In order to do this, I have made up a dummy on a workbench out the back, which we'll see in a minute, and I'm going to put the motor upon it. So here we are, another mock-up. I like mock-ups. Mock-ups are great because if you mess things up with the mock-up, it's nowhere near as serious as messing up with the real deal. As you can see, I've got another piece of pine which is meant to replicate the pine that is now sitting on my foredeck. I've had to use lots of clamps. I certainly didn't want to use have my new Minn Kota fall off my mock-up and land on the ground. That would have brought tears to my eyes. So what's the purpose of this task? Well, is to see just how far the deployed shaft is in front of the piece of pine which is going to support the whole unit. So here we go. Using my straight edge, I can now measure the distance between the front of the pine and my straight edge, and I end up with 9 centimeters, 90 millimeters. Now, the second thing I can do is I can now mark on my dummy piece of pine, oops, lost my pen, where the rear of the motor will sit on the pine. There I go. Mark. Now I will be able to transfer that measurement to the real piece of treated pine, the one I'm going to use, and in one go I will find the exact position. Well, that's what I hope. Well, it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I double checked the measurements, and my location, my temporary location for my treated pine F7 base plate was exactly right. However, measuring twice and cutting once, I find that my timber pine base plate appears to have warped after I painted it. Oh well, that just means I'm going to remove it and take a little bit off the top, repaint it and replace it. I hope it doesn't warp again. That would be heartbreaking. My base plate is in position, and it's the right position. I've ensured that it's sitting neatly. I've ensured that the end is flush where the motor is going to sit. I've ensured that there'll be between 25 and 37 millimeters between the shaft and the gunnel rubbers. And I've cut off a piece of hardwood timber for a backing plate which will sit underneath the foredeck. Yesterday I crawled in to see where the backing plate was going to sit, and luckily I did, because underneath there's a bulkhead which could have caused problems if I hadn't have determined where its position is. Okay, today I'm going to drill the holes through the base plate, through the foredeck and through my backing plate, and then I'll be able to firmly lock it in position, finally. There. As you can see, the pine base, F7 treated pine, is now bolted to the foredeck with 4 bolts, 4 8mm bolts, and a piece of hardwood backing plate underneath. And here's the Minn Kota unit, sitting almost exactly as I had planned it to be. It's deployed at the moment, and here's that crucial distance measurement. 1.5 inches, between 1 and 1.5 inches between the shaft and the gunnel rubbers. The only adjustment I did have to make from my original plan was the angle had to be the angle at which the unit is sitting on my pine base plate had to be adjusted a couple of degrees in order that the head unit would have sufficient clearance from the half cabin where it sits when it is stowed. The main unit has been bolted to my base, my F7 pine base. Just followed the instructions provided, but as you can see, I did have to use almost every tool in the shed to make it work. The only hiccup I had really was when I utilised this bolt hole, and I made the mistake of drilling the hole through absolutely vertically, and unfortunately when I dropped the bolt down, the head of the bolt would not go past this clipped axle, the purpose of which I don't know, and this meant I had to grind off the head of a smaller bolt in order to get past this axle here. I wasn't going to try and remove the stainless steel clip. I'm not sure if I would have been able to get it back exactly. So it's all looking good now, all looking good. Which just leaves me the task of hooking up the electrics. That'll go straight to plan, I'm sure. The unit is finally installed and I'm happy with the positioning of it. It seems to be just right. There are some issues that I have with, firstly, the deployment and stowing process. This easy deploy handle seems very difficult to use, and in fact takes so much force at the moment I'm planning to extend it out to about here, but I'll have to check to see what it'll do to the warranty. And also, when we're stowing it, it seems to be, the shaft seems to be very sticky in this unit here when it gets up towards the end. Perhaps I'll need to lubricate it. We'll see.